How much time do you have?
As much time as we want.
Sick. All right. Put my phone on airplane mode here. Make sure there's no interruptions.
Yeah. Do you often have your phone or computer in Do Not Disturb?
Yeah, I do a lot.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Yeah. Well, then it depends if then I'm dating someone. It kind of throws everything off because I'll usually put my phone on Do Not Disturb at 9 p.m. But then I'll put the settings for them, and it just screws me all up. But especially at night, I need it for sleep. I really need to have my routine down. Otherwise, it just completely screws me up. And then after I read, you ever read Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker?
Huh.
Oh my God, man. That book will blow your mind.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out.
It just tells you, even I just flew to St. Louis to go see family and friends. Even if you're flying within your own time zone, the flight and your circadian rhythm, just everything gets so screwed up. And then people that fly a lot tend to live less. So people there's guys like Andrew Huberman that talks about it a lot. Matthew Walker's the sleep expert. And I'm telling you, if you haven't read that book, it will completely change how you see everything and how you prioritize everything.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. I'll check it out. That makes sense. I mean, there's all sorts of studies and people writing about it, and it's becoming a lot more of an important thing that we're all realizing, which is awesome. And I'm really picky about it, but the flight thing always kind of throws me off. I'm like, why do I feel like shit after flying?
Yeah. Because there's things you can do, immediately go to the gym and put your body into stress, or I believe cold baths, or it's anything to shock your body back into sync. Because not only is your mind in a circadian rhythm, people don't think about, but apparently all of your individual organs are also in a circadian rhythm. So because some people have stomach issues when they fly a certain amount. But they feel fine otherwise. It's because I guess their stomach is all screwed up from the flight and everything. Yeah, I don't know. And then also it talks about, when I was going to law school, I prided myself. I was I only sleep 4 hours a night or 5 hours.
Yeah.
And then I worked in a law firm and said the same thing. And then I don't know why I thought that was a pride thing. And then you come to find out that actually, regardless of who you are, the 6 to 8 hour is recommended for everybody. There's bi sleep patterns where people can take shorter ones and then accrue sleep debt. And that whole sleep debt thing is exactly why I love the Whoop so much. And there's a percentage, less than a percentage of the entire population of the world actually needs less. There's a specific gene that can be identified. And I think maybe Jocko Willink has it.
Yeah.
But even he gets full hours. I don't know. It's just something I always tell people. You read that book, it'll blow your mind. And Rogan just had a UFC fighter on that said that. He was like, that Matthew Walker's a motherfucker.
That's awesome. I just read something about the sleep debt that I didn't realize, which is it's not one for one.
No.
If you miss hours on one night, it's you might be making up for that for a week.
Forever. Yeah. And do you use the Whoop at all?
Not currently. I have one and I used it for a bit of time. I'm just not using it right now.
Yeah. So I keep it keeps track of your sleep debt. And not only that, it's your performance of that day. So if you work out, you're going to also accrue that amount of sleep for your recovery. And then mentally, when I was recently going through my dad's passing and then the stuff with my dog recently, it was amazing how much my sleep was affected from just mental things. So big thing why I love keeping track of that stuff, because I want to live forever, but in in a healthy way, and then perform. It's not quality of life is big.
Quality of life. No one wants to be that older person in a care home who has dementia or can't move or is stuck and their family visits them once every 6 months.
Yeah, not at all, man.
No, it's a sad way to go.
And you see these Hollywood guys that just they're in their 90s. William Shatner just went to space and he's 90 something. You got to pass physicals and everything. It's just that.
Yeah.
they live, of course, a different kind of lifestyle, having the money, having the time and everything. But, you know, if quality of life and elongating your life is important to you, I think you should find a way to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm curious. Have you listened to any podcasts with Rob Dyrdek?
No, but he's like coming back on the scene recently.
Yeah, like old school skateboarder, and then did Robin Big,
Big
Factory,
and Big. Yeah, so R.I.P. Big.
Yeah, right. He did a handful, and I listened to him because I listened to one on My First Million, and essentially, like, he is wildly successful. Like, he's sold like $450 million worth of businesses in the last like 5 years, and he pumps out new companies, and he's hyper optimized. He's all about human optimization, and he has the wealth now to do it at the best level. So it's like literally his doctor comes to his house every single day. He tracks everything in his body constantly, trying to understand like how to make it better, like really strict diet, still like lives and has fun. But really interesting to see some of the things that he's doing and some of those things that it helps him understand. He's like, no, like as a skateboarder, like I used to just like beat the crap out of my body. And now like, I want to know like every muscle, tendon, joint, how it all works and what I need to do to make it work so that basically like I can get back on a skateboard and be healthy and like continue enjoying life and like making my body like as functional as possible.
Yeah, that's great. Cause him and like Tony Hawk are ageless.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you got to imagine as you get older, there's certain things like your bone density that goes down. And unless you're continuing to like lift heavy weights, which is attributed to, you know, keeping your bone density up, they would be like more brittle, but they still fall and they still bust their ass.
Right. Yeah. I'm curious. There's a few other people who are working on this. There's another close to billionaire, some billionaire or whatever, who developed like did a lot of similar things and then developed this like helmet that you wear that like tracks like stuff going on in your brain related to all of that. And it's all like super expensive. Like you have to be like in an upper echelon of people, but the idea that like it's happening, like there's a phrase about it where it's like the things that billionaire spends their weekends on are the things that like regular people will like, you know, 10 years down the road. And it makes sense too. Like you see it start to trickling down with even just like at the Whoop level where it's like, oh, the Whoop already gives us like 4 or 5 plus more data points than we had before. And it's really easily accessible. It's pretty damn affordable. And I'm really looking forward to like the next phase. Like if Whoop is like, we have an injectable, I'm like, give it to me. Like, tell me what's happening inside. Like the outside stuff is interesting, but it's like, I want to know what's going on with my blood and like the nutrition and like the vitamins that are happening, like what's in and out of balance, or like if I decide to go drink really heavily, like how bad is it really screwing me up, and how do I understand like how that's affecting things.
Did you see my Ultra Human video on the continuous glucose monitor? It's okay if you didn't.
I think no. I think I watched the preview of it. I didn't watch the actual video though.
Yeah. So that one, I had always thought to myself, you want to talk about like an injectable. It's not geared towards someone who's a diabetic type 1 or type 2, but it's just an overall metabolic health device. Yeah.
I think we talked about this, kind of like Levels.
Yeah. So Ultra Human is a different company. I was trying to get a Levels device to review. It's just, I mean, I just saw Matt Frazier post about it, so they got bigger fish to fry. But it's the same. It's the same app, same data points, and that one really blew my mind because I had always assumed that I needed more protein than carbs. At one point, I was full carnivore. I was only eating meat, and I always told people, man, I feel good. But people were like, there's no way you can. You're not getting your vegetables. I mean, I was taking multivitamins, but they were saying like, you're not getting your vegetables. You're not getting carbs. And then when I switched to CrossFit style training, more HIIT style, and needed some faster digesting carbs, I switched over to more traditional high carb, then protein, and then low fat. And now fast forward 1.5, 2 years, I get this device and all my levels are like pre-diabetic. My HbA1c is like super high. And I'm like, oh crap, you know. Whoa. And then come to find out my dad was a diabetic too and didn't tell anyone. So
really?
Yeah. So I guess I was like predisposed to this maybe. So ever since the first 2 weeks, you get a month's worth of tracking. So the first 2 weeks, I was like, I'm just going to stick with my traditional diet. I want to get enough data set. And then I decided, hey, I'm going to switch over to this more protein. Like I pretty much flip-flopped like the amount of protein for carbs up my fat, which for someone who loves steak and brisket and living in Texas, that is most ideal. I started, I kept my carbs around when I work out, and my metabolic score that it gives you, which is all those different levels, your blood glucose and everything else, went all the way up to close to 100 out of 100. So that, like, I've been telling people, hey, if you're someone who's, I think everybody should get it actually, but if you're more geared towards performance, it's something incredibly useful. And Ultra Human's not out yet, but Levels is a great one. I'm sure Ultra Human wouldn't like me saying that since they gave me the device, but there's a bunch out there that are fantastic.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I've been meaning, I did Levels really early on. I somehow got connected with the founder, and so they sent me a kit.
Oh, nice.
And I did the first 2 weeks, and I was mostly just annoyed because I was like, okay, cool. Like carbs spike my insulin, but like, and then all the articles were, and the group that I was in was basically just talking about like how to reduce carbs. And I'm like, I'm in CrossFit. Like reducing carbs is not an option for me.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to go keto because I hate that lifestyle. Like I really enjoy carbs. And
well, who doesn't?
Yeah. Right. Like, God. And then I was just like, I need this for like working out. Like this is my body. I know my body works really well on carbohydrates. And so I mostly just got kind of annoyed with it. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to take a break. And then I want to come back around and plug in for that second 2 weeks and like actually try to optimize it a little bit. I noticed a few things where I was like, okay, cool. Like if I eat my greens before the protein and the carbs, like that tends to pan it out. But I also really don't like the idea of like adjusting really like I don't want to grab my meal every single day and be like, okay, I got to eat my salad first so my insulin doesn't spike. Like that's not, to me, a super functional
or sustainable
life change. Yeah, like I would like to eat my meal like a normal person, like, you know, little bits of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't know. So
I guess you did Levels early on, so I don't know how the app is now, but the Ultra Human app would give you suggestions and say, hey, if you do this, or if I'm going to have a cheat meal, it's going to be carb heavy. So at one point I ate a pizza and I ate half the pizza, and then I watched my blood glucose just spike, just shoot through the roof outside of the standard levels.
Yeah.
And then it said, hey, suggestion, take a 30-minute walk after. So I have my dog. I saved it. I ate the other half of the pizza, and then I went on a long walk with my dog, and it kept everything within line.
Really?
Yeah. So to me, that makes sense, and that becomes sustainable because, like, hey, fat ass, if you're going to eat this much food, the least you could do is go for a walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it gave a whole bunch of suggestions, and then also told you based on your blood glucose levels, and it gave me a week outlook of the 3-hour time frame when my glycogen levels are at the highest stores for maximum performance.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I'm curious how Levels has evolved over time too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was probably a little bit more simplistic back then. That was like early 2020, I think. So.
Yeah. Basic data. Here's your blood glucose. And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got to imagine if Ultra Human's doing that, then Levels has to be doing something along those lines. Cause I think it's got some pretty high, some not like famous kind of people backing it.
Yeah. 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 I think you're right. I don't remember who it is, but I remember reading something about like, oh, snap. That's impressive.
Yeah. So we kind of just jumped right in. I just hit record and said, let's go. Do you want to, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Caleb Ulffers. I run Haven Athletic.
Okay. And then you're in Seattle.
I'm in Seattle.
Right. And for people listening who haven't seen, I've done a couple videos. I'm going to do more. I want to do like an end of year favorite products of 2021. Like my goal, I have a bunch of time off. I'm burning PTO and I don't want it to go to waste because it's easy just to sit on the couch and be a POS.
100%.
Is trying to, I'm going to try to release content every single day at the end of the year. One of them I'm going to do is like my favorite products of 2021 and your bag. Like it doesn't even have to be just within this year. It's just whatever I think is still like the best product within the given year. Mm-hmm. So I imagine your bag is going to be a repeat offender of this like favorite gym bag thing. And everywhere I go with it, people look at it and they're like, "Oh, it's so sturdy. It's rigid, and it's just the best bag I've ever used." And as I continue upping what's in it, like testing it, it just gives me the room and keeps everything organized that I absolutely love, man.
Yeah, love that, man. That's awesome. Your review initially was super exciting for us as a team to see someone just validate it so much. I mean, like, it's our product, we love it. Like, it's solving our need. There's nothing else out there like it. We have a patent on the design. Working on some new products. I mean, it's an exciting moment in our company's lifetime.
How long is that lifetime been?
So we had the initial idea, I want to say in like 2016 or so.
Okay.
And then me and my brother got together and we're like, how do we figure this out? And kind of it was like that loose idea that you throw around with a friend or whoever, for X period of time when you see each other, like, yeah, man, that problem still exist? Like, yeah, the gym bags still suck. Like, we should like fix it someday. And then one day I was like, okay, that's it. We're like meeting. We're going to fix this. I had lost my headphones like underneath a piece of plastic in my duffel bag. And I was at the gym and I was like dumping my bag out and like ripped out the bottom of it. And I was like, oh my God, there they are. And that was like the breaking moment where I was like, Jacob, we need to meet and talk and figure this out.
Jacob's your brother, right?
Jacob is my brother. Yeah. And he's based in Nebraska.
Okay. So who had the actual idea for the design? Because that was one thing when I released the video and I called you the inventor. I was like, oh crap. Is it? Because then he found me on Instagram. I was like, oh, was it Jacob or was it Caleb? Or is it like was it a team thing?
No, you're good. So me and Jacob started working on the design and we have no artistic ability, right? So we're like trying to draw like squares and patterns. And
most inventors don't.
It looks like this. Yeah.
We used to tell when I was working at a patent firm, depending on what it was, we'd be like, go get Legos or something, or go get anything, go get clay, make whatever model you need to give to us so we can write the claims and the description to properly, because you would get some wild doodles, man. You'd be like, I have no idea what I'm looking at.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then I started prototyping a little bit. I had a couple of different Nike bags. And one of them I used a bunch of foam from like a Pelican gun case, where you can like customize it. It's all these like little cubes and you can like make a perfect design. So I like put that inside my bag, ripped out some spots, stored my gear in there. And I was like, it's sort of there. And then I did another one that was cardboard and duct tape. Basically just kind of like a couple of dividers, and that one sort of worked. And then, along the way we were chatting to one of my friends who is a product designer, digital product designer, and has some creative artistic abilities. And so we were talking to him about like the design of it and how to draw it out. And then, kind of just eventually morphed into like, he was helping us quite a bit and was like, hey, like, would you want to be involved? And he's like, yeah. And so that's when our third partner, Nick, joined. He's now based in New York. We were all in Nebraska at the time. And he helped us figure out some of those first designs. And I think we went through like maybe 5 or so kind of like rough ideas of like, where do you put your shoes and how many dividers do you need? And started playing around with that. And then we made a prototype that looks pretty similar to what we have now, where it was like, you've got the shoe garage, you've got a little bit of storage above it, and you've got some bigger dividers over here. And we used an old Nike bag, cereal cardboard boxes, and a grocery sack, like cheap grocery sack from a store for like the shoe garage area. And that's what I took it to the gym. Like, it was ripped up and duct taped back together. There was like a little door for the shoe garage that wouldn't stay shut. It looked like garbage, but took it to the gym, talked to a bunch of people about it, like started getting validation that like there's a need for some sort of a better bag. So it was a team effort. I had a lot of strong opinions just because like I've been in CrossFit for years and I have the most gear and I'm like kind of the most in the mix of our core audience. And so I was like, look, I understand a lot of these issues. And then I would bring those, and then we would kind of chat about it and be like, what do we need to do? What's the best way to fix it? And so I knew a lot more of like the issues, but as a team, we solved for the design. And then we would run interviews and talk to people and show people things and get feedback and then kind of fine tune from there.
So from the initial idea, like in 2016, to actually having the first like bag manufactured, what was that time frame?
First sample we actually got in, I think was like September of 2019, maybe somewhere around there. And it was wild because like we're all tech background, or my brother is a physical therapist. And so like, we don't know what we're doing in this world. Like learning manufacturing and working with overseas factories and product design and all this stuff. Like the initial, tech pack is what you like design your product in and send to a factory. And it's like a, 15 to 20 page blueprint, give or take. And it breaks the product down, shows dimensions and patterns, and has your bill of materials and all that stuff in there. And we had no idea what that was. And so we literally like took that sample that I made, or that we made with the cardboard and whatnot, and like took a picture of it and then like overlaid, like, this should be 3 inches. This should be 6 inches. And we were just like drawing on there. And somehow this one factory that we talked to, understood it enough to kind of make it. And we had talked to a bunch of factories, and a bunch of them were just like, no, there's no way, like, we're not going to do this. It's way too hard. And then a couple of them were like, yeah, I think we can try it. And then they sent us just some garbage, just hot garbage, nothing like what we were trying to do. And then one of them sent us something that was like, probably like 85% of what we wanted. And it was like a year, like, it was most of 2019 trying to figure that out, on Alibaba, reaching out to factories through there, talking to anyone and everyone, like tweeting people, being like, who knows how to make a product? How do we do it? Because we're also bootstrapping, and like, if you've got a bunch of cash, there's a couple of product design companies that you can just go to, you get your product made, no big deal. But we didn't have that. And so we had to figure it out ourselves. And, ultimately found the one that would make one that was pretty decent. And then that relationship fell through pretty quickly right after that. And we met the guys over at Peak Design, and they make photography bags, right? Like some of the best. And they sell a lot of photography bags. They're wildly successful. And long story short there, they introduced us to their factory, which is amazing. That's based in Vietnam, and they obviously make really high quality products. And they were able to make our sample the best we had ever seen it. And from there, made more product, and that's who we're working with now.
That's interesting because I don't have a Peak Design bag. I love Peak Design. I like some of their products.
Yeah.
But when I got your bag, it felt like a Peak Design bag.
Yeah.
It was like the first thing that came to my mind. I use Lower Pro for like my camera stuff, but there's a difference there that I'm familiar with. So that's very interesting to hear. And I'd imagine that once you get someone that's very familiar with like the partitioning and everything that you guys are looking for, that allowed you to be like easier to communicate. And I'm sure there had to be like the after additions, like the ventilation and stuff. Was that on the initial, or was that something like, hey, can you also do this and keep adding to it?
Good question. I think the vents was on the initial. There was kind of like 4 or 5 like big points, right? It was like, okay, it needs to be sturdy. And it's all with the idea of like giving you quicker access to your gear. Your bag shouldn't be something that's in the way of your workout. It should be something that assists it. And so it's like, okay, it can't open down the middle, because those bags are dumb, because you can't like get a good look into your bag. So it's like, it needs to have like a lid, and it can't collapse, because then the bag collapses over your stuff and you're like pushing the sides out trying to find your stuff. So it's got to be sturdy. We're like, okay, then it needs to have some dividers to separate your gear, however you want to do it, and like some big things and then some little things. And then it's nice to have your shoes separate, since they are kind of typically the dirtiest piece in your bag. And so it's like, if we give them a spot, but like most shoe spots are like a floppy bag where stuff gets lost underneath it, or you're like shoving them in and out, and it's like this whole pain. And you're like, why can't I just like slide my shoes in and out of my bag? Like, why is this like one small, super simple thing like such a pain in the ass? And so that's where the shoe garage idea came in, where it's like, let's just like make a firm spot for your shoes. Like that kind of solves that. And so, and then, the vent. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, the shoe garage is the opposite of what you're saying, because I have the Nike Romaleo 4s in the all white. So it's actually something to keep stuff separate, to keep those things looking icy. Like I love those things, are so beautiful. I wish they would take that design of the Romaleo 4s and make the Metcon 7 and put the big Nike swoosh and just do like an all white like that. I don't know why the design team of the Metcons, or just active shoes in general, any cross training shoes, are ugly as hell. Like I don't understand. It's
completely lost. I agree with you. The ROMs are gorgeous, especially this latest edition. And I typically don't like all the colorways, and then these I pretty much do. I'm just like, these are dope.
They just came out with like bright orange, I saw, and I was like, I don't need two $200 pair of Romaleos, but those look awesome. They came out with a Tokyo colorway, and I don't understand. I'm using, like right now I'm testing out the GoRuck ballistic trainers, and they're real sleek looking, and I actually think for my taste they look better than the Metcon 7s. Just simpler. There's got a lot going on. I had friends that were averse to using the Metcon 7s. What shoes do you wear?
I'm on, I think, Metcon 5 or 6 right now.
Okay. I like the 5s. I didn't like the 6s. Had like a high arch, like stiff heel.
Yeah. Curious about the 7s though. Heard a lot of good.
They're my favorite
reviews and feedback. Yeah, I think your video was one of them where I was like, "Ooh, yeah, I'm ready to buy some of these."
Yeah, from the research I did, they actually started the development of the 7 before the 5s were even released. It was a completely different R&D team.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see where. I agree. Like a lot of workout shoes in general, but then especially like CrossFit shoes, like they're just not super great looking, which is frustrating when you think about who it's coming from. Like Nike, the design team, they make incredible, really beautiful products all the time. And like, why does this one shoe kind of look like crap?
Yeah, I guess it's just the investment in the R&D versus like the design team getting, it is R&D's research and design, but like the, I don't know, aesthetics team or whatever. Because one interesting thing that I watch, there's a show on Disney Plus called Jeff Goldblum Questions Everything. Have you ever heard that or seen it?
I've heard of it. I haven't watched it.
So he did a sneaker one, a shoe dog one, whatever you can call it, sneakerhead one. And part of it was he went to the Adidas lab and they tested like how his brain reacted to looking at the product, because people have been proven to perform better in a product that they actually believe is like they look good in. Look good, feel good kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was super interesting. So when I saw the first Metcon 7s and the colorways, which the initial colorways, I think they just completely trash. I don't think anyone bought those because they look cheap. Now there's a whole bunch of ones with gum bottoms and all whites and everything else that's looking a little better. But I would imagine it's got like the same thing. Cause I mean, if you would have put that thing on me and showed me that first Metcon 7, I would have been like, I'm not wearing that. Right or wrong, regardless of how it functions, which I think it functions amazing.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Look good, feel good's the thing. Like, I mean, that's why I'm buying $70 10,000 shorts, and
I love 10,000.
All the other stuff. I love those shorts. I have some other friends who don't. I'm like, I don't know, man. They work perfect for me. Yeah.
In my video, I'm gonna say, like, I have personal relationships with some other brands, but for me, if I were to be completely transparent, honest, no money coming back to me, whatever, I think 10,000 makes the best performing. I mean, and they have lifetime guarantee. So like the price, for something like that, I think is actually probably pretty cheap. Direct to consumer. They do a lot of research and feedback from quote unquote athletes, not anybody professionally, but a lot of people in the functional training realm. And I love their stuff. They've been sold out of these all white interval pants that I want that look so sick.
Ooh, I haven't gotten any of their pants. I just have shorts and one shirt.
Yeah, I haven't either. And I get sent so many clothes anymore. It doesn't make sense for me to buy, but that should be telling how much I think their stuff is great, that I want to actually go out and buy some of their stuff.
Willing to buy it. Yeah. Have you gotten any of their shirts?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I'm curious,
like,
but it just like for me, shirts are neither here nor there. I rarely wear them in the gym anyway.
Yeah.
But they're very similar from what I felt. I'm wearing Built Basics, you know, Built, BYLT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Their athletic performance stuff is incredible. So
Okay.
it's the same kind of stuff too.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. No, I'm typically like the like cheap cotton shirt or
Yeah.
CrossFit shirt or like leftover shirt. Cause yeah, again, like you're gonna sweat in it, you're gonna like trash it, you're gonna take it off half the time.
Well, I just,
But I was like, kind of curious about like a nicer shirt. And so I got one from them. I just got like their like baseline like durable shirt. It's supposed
yeah,
to fit like a t-shirt, and actually really disappointed.
really.
Yeah, doesn't feel like a t-shirt at all. Like a t-shirt to me, like is why I train in them. Like they're a little bit stretchy. Like when they get sweaty, they're
Oh,
not
these
too
are,
heavy. That's why I don't.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't like some performance shirts. When you sweat in them, they like Lululemon's metal vent. Like it
Yeah.
felt like it just like hangs, and that's a gross feeling.
Yeah. Viori's
But
the
no,
same
this one
way.
just like tight and not stretchy and just weird feeling. I'm like, this doesn't feel like a t-shirt.
That's interesting. I'll have to try them.
Yeah.
I've got a list of like shirts because people ask me all the time what shirts, but I like going to different gyms when I travel and I buy their shirt and everybody
Yeah.
uses, I don't know what the Haven shirts are. I still need to buy one of your shirts. Is it Next Level?
Right now, I think it is. Yeah.
I mean, everybody, I just did a photo shoot.
Yeah.
I just modeled, you know, cause I'm a model now for,
Yeah,
you know, the brand Born Primitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did this recent photo shoot with them, and the shorts are specialty shorts that they make, but the shirts are just Next Level shirts, and I'm perfectly fine with that. They just throw their design on there, and they put their own tag. But as soon as I grabbed it, I go, "This is Next Level," and they're super comfy. They fit perfectly. And when I go to somewhere like Wadapalooza, and that I'm gonna go back, even though I don't live in Miami anymore. I don't know if you've ever been, but yeah, all like I go around to the different booths. Everyone's using Next Level. So
Yeah.
shirts are,
It's just an easy standard. Yeah. At some point, we'd love to do cut and sew, just like custom and just like a little bit higher quality. But for now, it's definitely easy to use.
so okay. So let's go back to like the bag. Now we were talking about the design of things before. I mean, how much? Okay, you got the function of the bag, and for people who are listening and don't know exactly what the bag is about, it's it's just not even worth me grabbing right now for the video, just because I don't really have enough room to really like showcase it. And you can go back and see my what's in my gym bag 2021 and the actual specific review of it. But for people who don't know, it's a partition bag. It kind of resembles a camera bag. It's got rigid outer walls. It's got ventilation at the top, and it's got a shoe garage. And the thing that I thought was very interesting when I got it was the climate neutral manufacturing that you proudly tag on the outside of it. So you already touched on exactly design and the function of it too, but I just want to be more clear of exactly what we're talking about. It's got a large compartment. It's got an internal bottle holder, and then it's got a front pouch, and I think that's pretty much it. And I got the large duffel version, and for me, maybe the average person doesn't need a large duffel, but I carry camera equipment on top of all the CrossFit gear. And sometimes I'm carrying duplicate. Like for a while, I was carrying 2 types of barbell collars just because I was testing out the Eleiko open collars, which are another fantastic design product. So for me, that's great. I would always side on take the side of caution if you're looking at exactly what size bag you need. But that's the basics of the design. And aesthetically, you know, we're talking about design. I like the look of the bag. It's something that people see, and something that also I want to touch on. It's like a mobile locker room, because I went back, like when I go home or sometimes I travel, I don't drop into a CrossFit gym if it's not convenient for me to do so. So I got to go to some random Globo gym, and I missed having the bag. So, because I don't trust people at some of those gyms. I don't know. No one talks to each other. You got to put them in a cubby. I don't carry a lock with me. So it would have been nice to have that bag with me just to set next to where I'm working out.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we've had some nice compliments. Most people like the design of it. We wanted to keep it kind of sleek and straightforward. And at some point, like, I mean, that's a little bit of like where culture's at too with design. It's like, you know, modern minimalism and Scandinavian, and it's definitely like what I ascribe to. But I still do like a little bit of like some streetwear and a little bit of flash. And there's a little bit of some signals of some new brands coming up. bringing back a little bit of that more like bold, prominent branding. And so it's probably not going to be our number one, like haven and like just putting it everywhere and being obnoxious about it. But I do want to get into a little bit more like the other day at the gym. So this still happens to me, which is really great too, because I've been at my gym for like 6 months. I'm at Invictus in Seattle, and two people came up to me in the same week and they were like, "Whoa, nice bag. What is that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's like, it's mine. I make it." And they're like, "Oh my God, I've never seen anything like it. Like, that's awesome. Like, can I buy one?" I'm like, "Yeah," like, explain it. And then like, "Cool, where do I go?" And I'm like, "Well, you just go to like Haven." And I'm like trying to show them the logo, but the logo is like an inch long tag on the front of the bag. It's like very understated purposefully, but also like, I was like, in this moment, it's kind of annoying. Like, I can't really show you the brand, show you like who makes this bag. And if I'm like walking out of the gym and you're like, "Oh, that's a cool bag," like you'll never know like what brand it is unless basically we have a conversation.
Is that something that you want to continue? Because I think I kind of equate it like Yeti products. They're very simple in design. You look at it, you can look at a cooler and know that it's a Yeti cooler, but they just have like the simple, like big Yeti. Is that something that you guys ever look at as well, or like getting the logo bigger? Because I also, what's interesting to me is, or something that's really cool is that these companies, these startups, and these first few podcasts, you guys all have great branding. And I think that's got to be super tough. Like I want to buy the shirt because I like the Haven logo.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we probably will keep a pretty low profile with it. As far as like on the bag, might make some adjustments here or there to make it at least a little bit bigger, but still like it won't be anything crazy. I kind of want to do like a founders edition at some point that would be crazy. Like I'm like, print that fucking logo like across the entire thing. Like I want it to be like, this is a Haven bag. And it's cool because it's mine, founder. But
I mean, Nike does that. Like they have the simplistic stuff, and then people like the logo and what it represents. I think it also comes about what it represents too. I know that's something that you're trying to build towards, which of course is going to take some time, but then it becomes something that, hey, I want everyone to know that this is a Haven bag. And for me, just the silhouette of it, I'll know that it's a Haven bag just because there's no other gym bags like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Which helps out a lot in the design of it. And then the branding thing was, we just kind of lucked out. Like our third partner, Nick, has done a lot of brand work as a graphic designer. And me and him have actually worked on another software company that I started, and he helped me with the brand, and like we did that together, and we've done it for a few other like products here and there, another company or event company that I ran for a while. And so I've gone through like the branding exercise with a couple of agencies and then with Nick. And so I have like a decent like understanding of it, and then he's really good at it. And so between all of that, we were able to kind of bring that to the table with this brand for the design. And we put months of work into it, figuring it out, like even just from a aesthetic. And ultimately super stoked with where it landed. Like I'm biased because it's mine, but I've also heard the same thing from a lot of people who are like, the brand's like pretty cool. I'm like, yeah, I think like there's something here where it's like some products is like, oh, this product is great. This brand is like fugly, right? Like no offense, King Kong. I think you have cool bags, but like your brand is awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same with like six-pack bags.
Six-pack bags.
Like, that's a
it looks
great
cheap
bag. I actually love it, but it looks cheap and the name is stupid.
It's I think that's something people don't think about a lot of times. The famous ones, the Nike logo, right? Is they paid some art student for the Nike swoosh and for like little to nothing. And initially like Phil Knight actually didn't like it. I believe if I recall reading Shoe Dog, like it was on the back burner. So I believe so was the name Nike. And through the development of performance and great products, it became something. So for people that haven't ever built anything, and this is something I struggle with my channel, it's like, okay, here's a logo. I had created a logo myself, and then I have pilot friends. They're like, hey, it looks like Delta Airlines. I was like, God damn it. So it's got to represent something. Like my idea for like a next logo for my brand's going to be closer. Like I got my dad's tattoo over here, and it's going to be something along the lines of that, because then it actually has a meaning behind it. So finding that logo that has a significant meaning and something that you're going to live with because you birthed this company, and once you set that logo and you put it on your bags, that's it. You know, you could maybe go through a rebranding, but that is pretty dangerous sometimes.
Yeah, definitely something that we wanted to get right on the first go. And like at our stage and like early companies, like there's a chance early on, like if we were going to do it, we would have to redo it like right now, which we're not going to. But like, you know, for other companies who've like had to switch or change or whatever, like kind of once you're established, it's definitely hard to change that up, especially if you're considering a name change as well.
Yeah. So what does the logo, which is like a star, right, and Haven mean?
Yeah, it initially started with this idea that the gym is like your haven in the definition of haven, like a safe place. You know, it's the place you can go to every day, and it's always been that way for me. I've been lifting since I was 15. Actually just found out during COVID that I have ADHD, like officially diagnosed, whatever. But it's always been this like daily place that I can go to like work my stuff out, whether like I'm happy or I'm sad or I'm frustrated or it's just like exciting to be able to move my body. And I'm like grateful for that. It's like, and then the people that you meet there and the community that you develop, and then the gains that you get, the strength, you know, fitness, all that stuff that comes with it, it just becomes such like a powerful place when you put into it. And it becomes also a very trusted place where it's like, I know I can go to the gym. Like the weights are never going to like talk back to me, you know, or like the weights are never going to be like, no, not today, Caleb. Like I can go in there and I can throw weights around for whatever reason I need to. And it's just consistent. And so that's kind of how it started. And then it's where we're kind of like evolving is the idea that like the logo marker, which like you said, it's a star, kind of like a North Star. So there's the idea of like that being combined with the idea of like your haven. But then also that it kind of points in four directions. And we're still playing around with this idea that and it depends on where we go, if we make things beyond bags and like, you know, how big we're trying to make this, but like the idea of the balance between rest and compete, kind of like the ends of the spectrum there. And then across both the physical and the mental plane, right? So like you've got working out where you have days off, and then you have days where you're working really hard. And then if you're competing at all, like the hardest days of your physical journey. And then the same thing is true with the mental side, right? The more we're aware of sleep and meditation and all these things that are beneficial to us, and the idea that like you have hard days where you're working really hard, whether that's just your 9 to 5 or you've been working for like a month on like a project that's like taking a lot out of you, you equally need the same amount of like rest where you're just vegging out or you're going for walks or you're like, I don't know, I'm a big fan of meditation or like just leaving your phone behind and going on a walk, like with just your brain, or just kind of like any healthful things like that. And I think that's the idea, is like physical and mental is like finding the balance of health and what that means.
I love that. There was a couple things that I wanted to do when I started my YouTube channel, especially not so much studying the fitness space and like social media or in content creation, but just being aware of it just from seeing things. It's very selfish and it's very fit, like physically fit driven. You got these people showing their physiques. They're very, I'm not gonna say self-absorbed because I don't fully understand like the bodybuilding side of things. And I know people that personally do it, and it's very difficult and very hard to do. And you can just tell the hard work that people put into it. But it was always missing the selflessness. I believe I wanted to start this channel, especially like this podcast. When I find a new product and working with startups in the past, I wanted to grow it, not only to be something for myself, but to be a platform to help bolster and be a catalyst for like other brands if possible. Like I'm still small at this point, but anything I can do to help like promote other companies, and I'm always seeking out startups, that's what I want to do. And then the other thing's the mental side of things that people don't ever talk about. You know, going to the gym is something that I have to mentally do. Otherwise I turn into like a head case. But outside of the gym, there's a lot of things that I have to do. I grew up in a very man's man kind of household where it was just generations of men that don't share their feelings or want to talk about it. Now, I think sometimes, no offense, on the coasts, just me being a Midwest guy, there tends to be a little too much like against masculinity, which I think is also wrong. I think men should be men to a certain point, but not to a unhealthy point. So that's something like I always want to promote and have to put out there too. So I absolutely love that built into your logo is it's holistic. And again, that's why I like the Whoop strap, because your mental health, if it's bad, it's going to affect your overall health and you can't perform, and everything's got to work together. And there's also like the mental side of like education and like constantly wanting to learn that I always want to promote as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, I hate to say it's a trend. It's the more awareness we have around it, I feel like the more people are like accepting and adopting it. And even to a point where like Hyper Ice, you know, the massage gun company, so they are really successful. They've made a few purchases. They bought Normatec boots.
Yep.
But one that they just recently brought was called Core, and it's like a meditation app. And I'm like, this is exactly why we're caring about this. Like, this is a product company that just bought a meditation app because it's all connected.
Yeah.
And I love that.
They're pure recovery. And that is so good for recovery, is being mentally healthy like that. It's, I love that. I suck at meditating. I've tried.
Have you?
I mean, do you know Naval Ravikant?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he has my favorite quote, and I can't say it verbatim, but he talks about meditation, about emptying your email inbox and constantly working through your problems day after day. And then only when you've emptied your mental inbox does the real meditation start. And for me, journaling, I use something called a mind journal. It's geared towards men, and it has like the prompts. That is what I do. And it's got gratitude. It's got a whole mixture of things. So in lieu of meditation, maybe you should do both. That's been working for me, and it really helped me out in October.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's all about finding your thing. It's just like nutrition, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to eat broccoli. I hate broccoli. And it's like, well, then stop eating broccoli.
I hate running. Then don't run.
Yeah. Don't run. Find something else. Like, if you hate meditation, then don't meditate.
Yeah, I don't understand that with people. Like, I've got friends of all walks of life and what they do. And the other thing about being in the fitness kind of content creation, some people just want to shit on you for doing whatever. Like CrossFit's a huge target. I even think about in my head when I'm doing reviews, I want the review to have the information. I don't want any distractions. So sometimes I'll leave out things like butterfly pull-ups, just, or kipping, like handstand push-ups, just because I don't want it to distract from the actual product review, because you know how many times in like my Metcon, I got a Metcon, the #1 Nike Metcon video on YouTube, and occasionally I get CrossFit, quit listening, and like, come on, man. And I always, sometimes I'm not supposed to, they say ignore the comments, but I like to be helpful. Sometimes there's good stuff in there, but I'll type in there and be like, hey, whatever fitness mode modality you're into, I hope you're doing the best at it, and I hope that you're super healthy. Like, just compliment them and stuff, because that's what I want from people. I want you to find your thing: jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, like if it's MMA, if it's CrossFit, if you're a runner, if you're a cyclist, whatever, just get out there. Pickleball. I love pickleball. Like we're doing different things, and like we're in our little groups, but also like we're a part of the broader group of fitness. And I like, it's a joy to be a part of that, to like be able to move our bodies in the ways that we can, to do, like, get underneath weight, to run fast and things. And I think it's awesome to be able to experience the other ones as well. Like, I use CrossFit as like my base, but I like road cycling. I like mountain biking. I like hiking. I like good place for it.
Form of any sport. Yeah. That's partly why I'm here. I like snowboarding. Like, I'm just like, and if anyone is into something and they want someone to do it with them, I'm like, yeah, I'll join. What is it? Sure. Cool. Sounds fun.
That's how I ended up on Mount Hood.
Yes. Okay. There's some limitations here, but yeah.
You want to do that?
No, I will. I want to do some like alpine stuff at some point, but it's a little ways off.
I just, whatever. I was like, I'm gonna go for it.
YOLO'd.
I'm like the biggest dude on that mountain. Everyone's like
Yes.
160 pounds flying up there. My buddy Curtis is like a goat, just like constantly just going up there. I'm just like, man, the oxygen's getting a little thinner. Like I gotta feed this meat vehicle. It's useless up here.
Slow down.
But I love being able to do that.
Yes, 100%. I was gonna say one of my favorite books is it's right here, Joyful Wisdom.
Yeah.
And I read this. I can't pronounce his name. I'll just butcher it. He's a monk. But I read it in 2020 and absolutely changed my life. Both that and Stillness is the Key on just kind of like slowing down. Yeah. Stillness is the Key is a Ryan Holiday book, kind of centered around stoicism. But Joyful Wisdom is great. Like he breaks down meditation in a way I've never heard it before. And I've never been good at meditating. And I've always just been kind of like, it's just not doing it for me. And so he like breaks down the core of it and then like kind of builds up how to understand it and how to practice it. And then the various forms of practice. And that's where he got me, where there's one called, I think it's called like Object Impermanence. And he's essentially like, pick an object to look at and then just kind of like let your mind do its thing. And I'm like, are you talking about staring? Because I would love to just stare at something for a while. And it turns out that's pretty much what it is. And so I started doing it and it ended up being this incredible thing that I love now. Most mornings we'll spend anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes. I'll do some other morning routine stuff and then I'll just pick an object. It's usually like a plant or something that's kind of nice and just kind of look at it. And then at that point, like, just like there's no like, oh, I need to think about this or like, oh, I need to clear my mind or focus on my breath. Like that's where I get a little bit like troublesome with some of the other meditation practices. And this one is like, just let your brain do whatever it wants to. Just like if thoughts want to come, let them come. If they want to think them, let them think it. And it became this really freeing practice that has helped me think clearer and be a lot more calm and kind of feel like I get that initial, like, which I'm sure you feel with some journaling, like kind of like some of the initial stuff is like, just get it out of the way so I can focus on more, whatever I want to focus on, or, like work through some stuff or like sit in some pain or some sadness or whatever.
Oh, that's worst things in my life. Whether it's a breakup or you lose a family member or just whatever, you have to like that's what journaling helped me with the prompts. You have to let it eat at you and you can't ignore it. You can't numb the pain. One thing that I definitely did through anything bad is I don't touch alcohol. Like it is such a Band-Aid for stuff like that. And I just sit there, not so much me just meditating. It's just, I got to let the bad stuff or even good stuff. Like there's prompts in there. It says, not everything's bad. Tell me what's going on that's good. And you just let all those thoughts in. Everyone experiences like the random thought of something embarrassing they did like a decade ago. And you're just like, oh, it like hit you again. To me, that's like meditation or journaling is just a constant flow of memories that like that happens to. But if you work through it and you're like, it's okay. Not so much rationalize, but understand that things happen through life. It just, you move on from it. And less and less, now that I think about it, do those memories creep back up inside of me because I've dealt with them internally.
Yeah. Because you gave yourself space to do that. Otherwise, I don't know. That's a good way to like think about it. Like all the stuff that gets brought up, I've definitely done the same and it doesn't happen as much now. And if it does, like, I don't know. I feel like being able to like sit with it and like deal with it.
Yes, deal with it.
Puts you in, whether it's like a little thing or a big thing, it just puts you in such like a healthier space where it's like kind of like cleaning it out, like going through your basement. Like, what's this old box? Oh, there's some feelings here.
Yeah.
All right, let's explore them.
Yeah. A good book that I have that I read a while back for people more like on my end. You seem to be more accepting of meditation. I was a little more reluctant. Is Dan Harris has a book called Meditation for Fidgety Skeptics. And it's good because if you don't know like the story of Dan Harris, he had a mental breakdown. He was a national news anchor and just completely lost his shit on air. like just had a mental breakdown, which if you want to talk about embarrassment in front of millions of people, that's insane. And he became this very big advocate for mental health. I think he has an app. I can't remember what it's called, but he's more in the camp of a guy like me. And there's still things I think about, like the beginning of the book talks about enjoying a dog walk. Like you're not outside to just finish the dog walk as a task. Your dog's enjoying it. You should enjoy it and be more present. And that's something that I'm well aware about, not just in like walking my dog, but just all the time in life. And that was one of the things to keep, we're talking about like the sensitive subject of like with my dad, I was very mentally present every time we spoke on the phone or every time we were around one another, that I don't regret like any of our interactions. Cause I was just like, I'm going to make mental notes of this. And I have a lot of clarity of different things. And I do that with a lot of people, a lot of, putting your phone away and just being present and in the moment, because meditation is not only just you sitting alone by yourself, but it's also letting you be in the here and now.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. As much as like, I don't know, this kind of relates like the balance, right? So like, this is like a theme across my life where it's like, I have no problem with my phone. I have no problem with technology. I'm absolutely the person who will sit there on their phone, like whether I'm actually doing something or I'm just scrolling Instagram, but I'm also like, okay with it. I'm like, it's a part of my life. Like, I'm not going to hate this part of my life that I actually kind of enjoy because it allows me to connect with people. Like without social media, like we wouldn't be connected. And when you post stuff, like, I don't know, like, you are probably in a small group now of like select friends on my group, on my follow list, which is probably like 20 or so people, where it's like, if you post something and I see it, there's a solid chance I'm going to comment on it. Cause like, that's a way of like connecting for me. Like it's building
the good part about social media.
The good part, right? Like, I don't like all the like explore and like the spend hours like scrolling and just like mindlessly consuming, but like seeing what my friends are doing and posting and being able to interact with them is a really joyful part for me.
And that's healthy. So I'm assuming like a lot of people on your list or a lot of people on mine, people get jealous of one another, which I think is just like an internal struggle that they're having. But if you're doing something badass, I'm like happier for what you're doing. And it inspires me. Like my whole post, my whole social media is dedicated to inspiration, not the people that, man, I can't, it's so cringy. The people that are just like, you can do it. I'm working, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hey, listen, man, I know your shit's not together. Like the people that want to be inspirational are not inspirational and they drive me absolutely crazy. But I am inspired by people living their lives, and indirectly you inspire me to go out there and do stuff. And I've got like this solid group of entrepreneurs like yourself and the people that I've invited on this podcast that just make me want to work harder, not because I'm jealous of what you're doing, but it's inspiring. I love it.
100%. There's a phrase about that. I don't know, like minds and like exponential growth. I don't know, but it's like, I want to be around people like that who are trying to grow, who are doing cool stuff, who are generally positive. Like I definitely get into on a regular basis, like complaining and like into like kind of negative like tranches. And I'm a lot more aware of it the last like month, where I'm like, man, like that doesn't feel good. Like when you like roll up to the gym or a friend and the first thing you say to them is like, oh God, this thing just happened. Or like this jerk just cut me off and you're like, why are you like, or why am I showing up with like negative as like my face? Like,
I know people like that. Like, I'm just like, is there anybody else here?
Yeah. I don't know. So I'm working on being more positive. And it's something I was going to bring it too, is like related to, well, if you're following anything with like Web3, they're all real positive, but also like younger generations. And I was thinking about this with like the YouTube comment thing, where it's like our generation and older, I feel like negative stuff is like fairly like ingrained, where it's like, oh, you see a video and there's a chance to shit on someone, like you do. You're like, oh, CrossFit, fucking idiot. You're like, thanks. Like we're all in fitness. We're all trying here. Like I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
As opposed to like this more like positive movement with some of the stuff happening in Web3 or the younger generation, or like TikTok used to be super negative and something magical happened where they like switched the algorithm somehow, and now it's the most like positive place. I'm not using it outside of like scrolling it.
I deleted it.
Yeah.
It was too
I had some
positive.
friends who are, yeah, I had some friends who are using it for brands. And it's like, man, it's just like, I'll get 100 comments of people just being like, this is awesome. Like, way to go. Like, keep up the good work. Like, just all positive. Like, this is the vibe, especially like in the middle. I was thinking about it today, actually, in the middle of like COVID and this pandemic and everything that's still happening. It's really easy to get really negative, but I don't know, going into 2022 with positive vibes feels right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Even though I just said vibes.
no, it's fine.
Sorry, listeners.
I mean, you're from Seattle, so I don't think anybody's gonna
Yeah.
bat an eye to that. Now, I'll tell you one thing about the Pacific Northwest. Besides Portland proper, the city, I could have. No offense, anyone, but no, thank you. Like all this positiveness, selflessness, leaving your phone out away from you. When I came back from like all the hiking and all the nature and going back to when I was still living in Miami or Fort Lauderdale, super flat, everybody is on their phone constantly. I've never met anyone on their phone. Rogan even talks about it where he had a show down there and he uses this thing called yonder bags. And what you do is before a show, and it was pretty common for a lot of shows you'd go to, you put your phone away because, and it was specific to South Florida because people couldn't stay off their phone and be connected. And even with the yonder bags, which you would leave your phone in a locker outside locked up, they would constantly be leaving up and down the aisles to go check their phone throughout a show instead of being present. And I couldn't.
No kidding.
And I couldn't be in a city like that anymore.
Yeah.
Just.
Wow.
Yeah. Great place to visit. But if you don't know, like there's a lot of people born and raised, they don't know any different. But like coming from the Midwest where there's a like general community for a whole city, I was like, I love the beach. I love living here. I love the ocean, the teal water, love the Keys. I would rather trade in that beauty for beautiful people, like inside and out. So that's exactly why I moved to Austin. Was just, this is just I need this for my health, my general health.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got some good friends in Austin and there's a lot of good companies down there and
a lot.
I've thought about it. I can't do Texas heat, but I'm like, I want to get Austin in like a regular rotation of travel. Like
it's fun place
down there, 2 to 4 times a year.
I've never been in a city that is as active as Austin. Constantly people at the park, constantly doing, and it's like there was people outside all the time in Miami, but they were like at brunches, they were out shopping. This is a active, like
doing Miami things.
Yeah. This is a physically active city.
Yeah.
And it's like warm.
That. Even at what's it called? Barton Springs or whatever, the outdoor pool.
Yep.
I see a bunch of people going to that, swimming laps and like hanging out. I'm like, that's awesome.
Oh, it was cold. Part of that photo shoot I did, we had to go to Barton Springs because we were actually ironically shooting for a Miami line in Austin. So I leave Miami, come here, and it's like, oh, we need water. And it was like 58 degrees out, and then it's a spring, so it's already cold. I'm like, I'm getting into my shins. Yes. I'm not getting any further, even though I know it's good for me.
Right. Yeah. That's different, though. There's a photo shoot, not a cold plunge.
Yeah. So have you always, like, do you have a sports background, or have you just always been in fitness?
No, just fitness. Like I played a little bit of sports growing up, a little bit of like a year or two of baseball, realized I was terrible at it, so I don't play that anymore. Played a year of soccer, played a couple years of basketball my like junior and senior year. But outside of that, no, just mostly fitness. In college, played a little bit of rugby, played a little bit of a few other things, did some swimming for a bit, but gym has always been my like sport.
What made you try CrossFit? Because I was making fun of it up until a year and a half ago.
Yeah. I was making fun of it when it initially started. I had a buddy, which I'm kind of bummed now because like it was like early days and he was getting really into it. And I was like, man, CrossFit's stupid. Like you guys are flailing and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, if I would have joined him, like, oof,
yeah,
imagine how good I'd be.
I think about that too. But like mentally, I wasn't ready for it.
No. Yeah, no. And so I think I just kind of I was ready to mix things up. This was like 5 or so years ago, and I was just like, getting just a little bored going into the gym, like lifting weights, following the set routine, doing some cardio. I've been doing it for 10, 15 years. Like maybe it's time to mix it up. I like the idea of building a more cardio base, and I don't know, seems cool. And so I did a couple workouts of it, and I was like, oh, this is great. Like a little bit of the competitive nature with the people you're working out with, just like the intensity of it is something that I love. I tend to be like kind of 100% or 0%. And so walking into a workout where you're like, yeah, we're going to lift that barbell a ton of times and we're going to run a mile and then we're going to like jump on this thing and do that thing. And you're just like, this is intense and I love it.
Yeah, it's got me doing things I never thought. Like I finally started integrating handstand walks into workouts. I never thought my big ass would be swinging up on rings, doing muscle ups, handstand push-ups and stuff. But like overall, I feel more well-rounded. And this isn't just to preach CrossFit to people. It's just like the facts of, I was lifting weights. I was doing more bodybuilding, a meathead. Like, let me deadlift a ton, let me squat a ton, bench. But my cardiovascular system was trash.
Yeah. Yeah. And no like gymnastic skills. Like that's definitely a cool
mobility
thing about CrossFit is like, I can walk on my hands. I can do ring muscle ups. I can do handstand push-ups, like whether they're strict or kipping, like I feel both strong and capable in those. Like I can run faster now. I can run with weight. Like never used to be able to do those things.
I don't want to do some of those things, but I do them.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of those things weren't obtained by choice.
Yeah, like I still on my list. I've been putting it off. I have a Go Ruck plate carrier, and I'm just like, I gotta work out this thing to review this thing. And I was like, this thing, and then you gotta compare it against a weight vest, and you're like, oh, I'm already wearing a weight vest right now. Like I'm 25 pounds heavier than I normally am. Yeah. So it's like I put that on. I'm like, 245 pounds swinging on the rings is a lot,
It's a lot, yeah.
But
there's some things.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if you can't be functional and perform at that weight, then you shouldn't be at that weight, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And there's definitely, and I think that's like one of the hard things about CrossFit is like a lot of those early gyms and like Pukey the Clown and just like go hard mentality, like gave it a negative stigma where it's like any gym that I go to and have been to in the last like 3 to 4 years doesn't have that. They are like, focus on your form. We're going to help you. We have coaches here. No, you can't do butterfly and kipping pull-ups if you don't know what you're doing. Like, hey, stop that. You'll hurt yourself.
Well, that's how CrossFit,
it's like way better, way healthier.
Yeah. And that's how it's evolved. So I wouldn't be doing CrossFit if it wasn't for jiu-jitsu first. Cause it's the same community. Different kind of people, I would say, are attracted more to that martial arts style. Same kind of community, same kind of hard work you got to put in. And it's the same way where you have to do each move perfect before you're even ready to like move on, and you practice and everything else. Mm-hmm. And then the only reason I walked into a CrossFit gym was I moved to South Beach, and there was like Atos, which is a big name in jiu-jitsu, but it was too far of a commute for me. And Reebok CrossFit Miami Beach, thankfully, amazing coaches. This guy Jason runs it, and I always tell people that if you're in Miami, you should go out of your way to go to that gym. Had tremendous coaching and wouldn't let me do anything like pretty much put your ego aside. And I learned that from jiu-jitsu, and I wouldn't have been able to do that in CrossFit if it wasn't for that predecessor for me, is to have the humility to be like, I'm not doing this correctly. I don't need to put more weight on the bar. And for a big guy, that's not easy to do when there's people smaller than you by size, like lifting a ton.
Yeah, definitely. I like that. I like those moments too, though, when, I mean, it's hard, but it's also humbling. And then when you look at it afterwards, you're like, oh, that was good though, for me to like lower the weight, learn to do it right. Even now, like even day to day where you're just like, oh, like I know what my max is and I'm supposed to be doing like 80% or whatever. And I'm like, but I feel like trash. So the smart thing for me to do today would be to do like 70%.
Yeah. And that's how I've been recently. Like my max like snatch is 245 and I'm not even close to that. It's like use it or lose it. And I need to exercise and be down, like even to the point where I'm working my way back up, but I just ignore it because I don't like snatches that much. That 185 to me is like, feels like super heavy, and you're just constantly exercising that amount of humility.
Yeah.
It's a never ending.
That's another thing that I really like about CrossFit is like, I like getting my ass handed to me, right? Like I can't go to a gym where I'm a top athlete, because then I get lazy. I'm just like, whatever, I'm here, I can do it. I'm doing fine. Like, yeah, okay, I'm pretty much better than most of the people. And so that's something I really like about the gym I'm at now, where it's like, oh man, there's so many people I'm like looking up to that are way better than me. And it's
Yeah,
like, I don't
Invictus
even
is a big
want to
name.
be, yeah, like I don't even want to be like a games or a regional athlete or anything like that. Like I'm not trying to be a professional, but it's just nice to be around people who are better and like be motivated. And I mean, same thing we were talking about with like social media. It's like, I want those same type of people in the gym.
So what do you think it's about? So like I talked to you guys, and it's probably handicapped by the fact that I'm talking to people that are making fitness products, but yeah. I'm sure you're fairly successful in your professional job, like your actual, well, actually, I don't know if you're doing Haven full time now, but your career previous, and then you go and you're doing like everyone that does fitness, like Devin for Never Rest, who I did my second episode with, just did an Ironman, and Chase, I know, like he went to West Point, Wharton, and went, and he goes to my CrossFit gym. You like all these people that I'm meeting with, like yourself, are also wanting to get their ass kicked outside of work hours, and it's always a constant improvement. What do you think that is?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think it's like people cut from the same cloth, where it's like you want to work really hard at your job, you want to work really hard at your workout, you want to work really hard at your relationship, whatever it is. Like, I don't know, it's just like I want to work at everything in my life. Some people might call it a growth mindset, and there's definitely an aspect of that to it. Yeah, I don't know. Couple random thoughts there.
Yeah, it's something I think about too quite often. And when people ask me why I'm constantly like doing things or wanting to build things, because I could be completely comfortable just working my day job as a consultant at a tech company. I don't need any extra income or anything to that, like that I need to like, I'm not forced to do this. Like I wasn't forced to create a YouTube for extra income. I wasn't forced to even add this podcast on top of the stuff I'm already doing. But for me, when people ask me why I keep doing it, is because I don't know, and this is a very philosophical out there kind of answer, what life is about. And for me, it's like, why not constantly improve this meat vehicle and this, like, whether it's we're living in a simulation or whatever the hell this is, like, why not push performance and learning? And it wasn't like a religious or anything for me. I think it was studying like a lot of physics and being like, oh man, I'm so tiny in this universe. It's like, that made me feel like there's so much to learn, and I don't like to be bored. So there's like a whole bunch of reasons why like I strive to like do things like this.
Yeah. No, those resonate. I think there's a little bit too, where it's like, no matter how successful I am, like I'm never going to be the person who like, it doesn't work or like retires on a beach.
Yeah.
Like I like to work. I like to solve problems, or I like to be doing fitnessy things. Like if I'm achieve some level of success like that someday, like I would probably spend more time doing fitness, a little less time working, but I would still be like,
oh, that's my favorite. That's my dream.
Myself, or like, yeah, right.
That's why I want to do this. Like it started off just like, hey, if it pays one bill, that's fine. If it gets me one free product, that's fine. And so that's like kind of the goal. And then it turns into something, and you're like, wow, this could actually turn into something where I'm like vlogging full time, and my full-time job is fitness and trying to like mostly like help others, which would be absolutely fantastic. That would be the dream for me.
Yeah. I love that so much. It's funny. I was thinking about that last night. I was watching some snowboard videos. I'm like a intermediate snowboarder, so I'm still learning some things. And
I'm greens, right?
This guy a bunch of times.
Greens all day.
Yeah, just greens. Little bunny hills.
Yeah.
And I've watched this guy a bunch before. It's called like Snowboard Pro Camp. And I was like, man, he's pumping out a lot of videos. Like he gets tons of gear and whatnot. And I like he's pretty successful now, but I remember like some of the early days when he started. And I was just like, wonder what his subs are at now. And he's got like almost 500,000 subscribers. And he's just some like kind of a little bit like of a goofy dude out in like Whistler, Canada. But he makes super practical videos. And I'm like, this is so cool that in this day and age, like something that you love, snowboarding, and you probably would be like a snowboard bum to some extent for the rest of your life. But like you're able to teach other people with really great content. Like you're good at it. You're good at breaking some of these things down. And you definitely have a subscriber base that you are making a great amount of cash on this and like can live on this.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's cool. Like I was just like stoked for this
great
like, random snowboard instructor dude.
Yeah. Great content or products over anything. Have you read the book Creativity Inc? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I listened to it like couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah, and it's all about making theirs was specific. They wanted to make movies that they wanted to see, and that's all people need to do. I don't know how many people I tell, like even for yourself, if you to make content, and if it's good enough, people are going to find you. Like it's mentally tough because my subscriber count goes up and down, up and down. YouTube will come through and clear out what they think are fake subscribers too, and I've even had people say that they were unsubscribed by YouTube because they thought they were a bot, which is kind of a pain, but it's something that it's not something you're supposed to pay attention to. You just got to keep grinding and making things. And there's a guy like that snowboard. I follow this guy, can never remember his name. I bring it up all the time. His name's James Hoffman, I think. He's a world-class barista, like a championship barista.
Okay.
I personally am a huge coffee fan. I grind my beans. I do the pour over, but this guy has like 1 million subscribers. And not everybody is world class in coffee, or no, like, why am I watching a $25,000 burr grinder for coffee beans? Yeah. It's because this guy is so passionate and his content is so good that he gets a ton of people viewing. And that's all you need to do. There's all these kind of people. I watch these guys, Corridor Digital. I'm not a special effects guy, but their videos are super entertaining. They break down special effects of movies, why they do this, why they do that, and it's super educational. I'm never going to sit down in After Effects anymore. I used to do it like a long time ago, but their content is good, and that's all that matters. If your product is good, people are going to find you, and that's what I absolutely love.
Yeah, love that. Man, that's something that we're thinking about as we start growing here is content is what brings people in. It's how you build a modern brand. And so we're figuring out what type of content we write about or should be writing about. Because I think I've put out like 1 or 2 like actual blogs, and the other ones have just been updates on shipping and all sorts of stuff like that. But we're working on content strategy now. It's fun. I'm excited for it.
Content strategy. I've inadvertently become somewhat of a consultant when it comes to content, just having experience with YouTube now. Content strategy is a little tough because the people are going to dictate exactly where your content goes and whether or not your stuff is good. One thing I love to do, you talk about that snowboard guy, go to his videos and sort by oldest first, and you'll see the evolution of how the content has changed and how shitty the first stuff is versus where they're at now. Like even my stuff, man, I still get tons of views on some older videos, and I'm like, watch my new stuff. Like, don't look like I'm so
watching that.
I cringe if I go back and watch like my old stuff that I did when I first started. But it just shows you the evolution, and you just have to listen to your audience. So when people say content strategy, I'm like, good luck. You know, you better be ready to pivot. You better make it like Play-Doh. Like it better be malleable, you know?
Yes. Yeah, no, for us, it's so much more like, here's like 3 to 5 things that we kind of want to start putting some stuff out about to like help us dial in where we should take this.
Is it just like
rather than like, here's our next 6 months of like the exact code? Like we're not doing that.
Is it just like YouTube videos, or what are you guys talking about?
We'll start with blog, and then just like how it'll connect to like our social strategy. Would love to get into video content at some point, but until we have someone who can do it, or the funding to be able to like, outsource it to some extent, still very like, we'd still have like our hands in it.
I mean, I'm going to still be, there's different ideas and vlogging stuff I hope to be doing where your bag's going to be featured anyway. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so hopefully I mean, even if one person hopefully came your way because of something I posted, I'm appreciative of that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. At least one has. I know someone wrote in an email, because after you buy it, you get an email from me a day later. It's like, hey, thanks so much. Like, would you mind responding and tell me why you bought? Just so we can understand, market research, like why do people actually want it? And for sure, one was like, oh, I saw it on the Wes Henderson podcast and looks really awesome.
Okay. That's
Sweet.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know some people have actually messaged me about your supply chain issues, I guess, that you're having to work through and the delay. And everyone is so, I want it now. And I'm super guilty of that too. So hopefully people down the road, what's the latest on that?
Yeah, man, it's been brutal this year. So like we did our first pre-sale in 2020. We started it like a week before COVID lockdowns happened. Like it was insane, and people still bought, which was super cool, but we're like, hey, here's tentative timeline. And we got it delivered by like September. So it was like February, March to September. And then this year we did kind of same timeline, like February, and we're like, all right, like we know what we're doing. We've done it once before. Like we're talking to the factory. They're like ready to go. We're basically going to pre-sell it for like a couple months to get the capital needed to place the order. And so by the time we got to that point, COVID in Vietnam had gone through the roof and the country shut down basically for 3 months. And that threw us into a whole thing. And then the whole Suez Canal thing with that ship that got blocked.
I forgot about that.
Basically, yeah. Domino effect cascading to where we are now.
Did you have any product on there or no?
No.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah, no. So we were supposed to start manufacturing in like May, June and be done and then be on a ship by August and then ideally be in people's homes by end of August, early September. And then the 3-month delay and then shipping and all of that. And then it's also tough too, because like I want to be like super clear. I'd rather like jump on Instagram every single day and be like, this is exactly what's happening. But there's a little bit of like protection there where it's like a lot of people don't want that much information. And like it gives platform for the few people who want to like argue about it.
Sure.
And so there's some elements where it's like, okay, like right now we said we were going to get the product on a ship early December. And so we planned that. And then we get a note that says the factory is not going to finish in time to get it on by like December 14. And we're like, what? This sucks. And so we're like, all right, let's find a new one. So we find a new one. And then for December 24. And then we get an email like a week before, like last week. And they're like, hey, there's no room, or like we bumped you, or like something happened to where like we're not able to get the product on that ship. And so we're like, what? Again, like this is just like shit that just happens. And we're like, we have no control. Like there's nothing that we can do here. And some people get really upset over that. But then we were looking at getting it rebooked, and it was like the soonest we'd get it rebooked was like January 15th. And it takes 30 to 40 days to get it across the ocean. And so if it starts January 4th, that means like mid-February it would get in. And then we're getting close to March by the time it gets to people's doors. And that's an issue. And so we're like, holy shit, like we've got to do something. Like this can't go out January 15th. Like we need this to go out sooner. Like how do we find something? And luckily our freight forwarding company we work with found a spot on a ship that's leaving on the 27th. So it's still not on there. And so it's like along this journey is like, okay, well, how much of that do I like put out there on Instagram? How many of you are going to be like, I don't have any more faith, just refund me? I'm like, if you would just like wait a week, it's going to be on a boat.
Sure.
So it's like, as soon as it gets on the boat, knock on wood, as soon as it gets on the boat, I will feel super comfortable putting another post out and sending an email out to all the customers being like, look, it's actually on a boat. I'm not going to come back and say there was a delay. I'm not going to come back and say something got canceled. Like it is coming to America. It'll be here January 15th or whenever, January 20th. And then it'll take like a week to get to our warehouse and then get to people's houses.
So this isn't like a gotcha kind of question. Being a startup, you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to find best margin possible. That tends to be overseas. One way to fix these supply chain issues is to manufacture domestically. Is there
Mm-hmm.
ever something that you've thought about? Is that something you explored? I got to be completely transparent to people. I have no manufacturing experience whatsoever. How to get a product from start to finish. I've aided other people working at a startup firm, but I've never personally done it. And there's a huge push for a lot of people that want to buy made in the US products. Is there something that you explored or exploring or what?
Yeah, great question. We initially wanted to, and this was like in 2019 when we were trying to figure out how to get it manufactured. And we talked to a couple of them, and they wouldn't work with us. We were too small, and they were like, "Yeah, come back when you're bigger." And we're like, "But we're trying to make it in America." We're like, "Okay, well, that's cool." And so we went overseas, and now we're looking at, especially with the issues with shipping, and then just being in another country and only having one factory as well. And so now we're looking at how do we get our eggs not in one basket? And so we're talking to a factory in the Dominican Republic, and we're going to get a sample with them in January. And then we're talking to a couple factories in Mexico. And then I think once we get to scale, we're kind of always like, I need a phrase to wrap this around. It's like make the plan, follow the plan, and then also kind of at our stage, like be constantly looking for better and constantly kind of throwing lines out. So it's like we're in Vietnam right now. We're trying to get these new ones going that will fit probably within our price point. Might be a little bit more, but they'll mitigate the shipping issue and they'll mitigate the one factory issue. And then from there, when can we start like getting in touch with US based factories to see if they can even make it, which is like one of the biggest things about American made manufacturing and super frustrating with like, yeah, everyone wants things made here, but like America isn't set up to manufacture the way that foreign countries are
Yeah,
for a lot of products.
I had a nice little back and forth with the founder of Go Rock, and that's going to be my review. And him just telling me the same, similar issues with trying to get stuff made in America, because pretty much all their products are made in America except their shoes. So I had to imagine that they had explored that option, but it's just not set up for the type of materials and the type of skilled labor here domestically. And the problem with you having like a single source to manufacture, of course, you're a startup, but I know that's a common problem, and nobody does this except me as I whip out the 8Ks and the publicly available documents for people that are on like the New York Stock Exchange and stuff. Just from having experience working for a publicly traded company, I helped prepare those documents, and it gives me a little insight to a lot of companies and the transparency I look for, especially on the manufacturing side or where a company like Nike or Yeti is going. And supply chain issues are always a huge problem that they have to resolve, and it's always diversity of suppliers in different countries or within the same country with multiple factories. And you see it constantly. Nike will list out every single one of their manufacturing facilities. Gymshark actually goes in and inspects each one of their manufacturing facilities just because of the pushback that Nike gets for their ethics behind it. So, it's not just for you, of course, but being much smaller than the companies I named, you're ever evolving and to go that route that they are.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely a couple of companies that we want to reach out to. There's a backpack manufacturer called Mission Workshop.
That's veteran owned, right? Is that a veteran one?
I'm not sure.
I might be making Mission Belt, maybe. Never mind.
Yeah, I don't know. They're like a commuter pack. I think they're based out of maybe San Francisco or something.
Okay.
But ridiculously high quality backpacks for like a laptop and some work stuff. Some really unique designs, some like patented designs and like systems that they've built. And these bags are gnarly. Like everyone who knows them are just like, oh yeah, this is like the grail. Like I talked to a dude not yesterday, a week or two ago. And we were talking about various bags and just like materials. And I was like, oh yeah, I love this company. And he's like, oh dude, I have one. like, oh, awesome. Tell me about it. And he's like, yeah, this is 10 years old. And I was like, excuse me, your work backpack is 10 years old. And he's like, yeah, it still looks like this. I'm like, mint. But they manufacture in Colorado. And so I'm like, you guys make super gnarly backpacks. Like, I would love to, and they're like difficult to manufacture. So I would love to get in touch with them and kind of follow that path.
I think Topo Designs does too.
Mm-hmm.
You seen their stuff?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, it'd be
Topo and Filson.
I have a bag, Chrome Industries. They have a whole line of not made in America, but the specific bag I bought is made in America. And I don't know, do you know Jocko Willink?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so his last Rogan appearance, he owns the company Origin Maine, everything made domestically, but it's more in line, like the shoes are leather boots, and talking to the GoRuck CEO, that's more in line of what you can make here in America versus something like nylon and everything else or whatever material it is.
Where
was I going with this? Oh, but one of the things that they had stated, which I thought was interesting, was continue making imported goods, but also an available higher priced model specifically made in America. Now, my first thought was, I have pride in domestically made goods, but I know that there's also a benefit of investing in other countries, and then there's supposed to be a quid pro quo about imports and exports. But it was an interesting idea to be able to purchase something made in America at a higher price point. But the SKU, I think, like keeping that inventory would be something difficult. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we'd definitely be open to it. I think if we could find someone to do it and then understanding what those costs are, and it's already like kind of a premium product. So if there's a way we could absorb it, but also like Chrome is a premium product. Like they make high quality products built to last that are cost the appropriate amount.
Yeah.
So if they have to upcharge for like an American made one, then yeah, it says something.
Well, I'll say, and I'll say too, your bags aren't cheap. They're not a cheap price point, mm-hmm. but your bag mm-hmm. isn't cheap. Like it's high quality to begin with. So if someone does DM me about your bag and say, oh, that's an expensive gym bag for what I need, I go, hey, you don't have to buy it. Mm-hmm. You're going to get what you pay for. Like I have been looking for this kind of bag forever, and I was willing to pay. I don't even remember how I found you guys. I think I just put it out in the ether and an ad showed up.
Yeah.
And then I DM'd you.
Yeah.
I honestly, I can't remember how, but
I think you said when you put it out there, someone had responded back that they had been getting ads.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
And then you DM'd me and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't have cared how much it costs. Like I was like, as soon as I saw it, I go, that's what I needed.
Yeah.
How'd you get it in the hands of the, is it the long snapper from the Colts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the Texans. They both organically reached out. I think they had probably gotten some ads and they were just like, yo, this bag looks dope. And I'm like, you're a professional athlete. Can I give it to you?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I've seen them post the bag too. And I mean, they're loving it. I can't imagine anyone who gets your bag won't like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm curious cause like this pre-sale coming in is 1,200 units and most of them are spoken for. And so, going from the few people here and there that have it and the small pre-sale we did last year to like 1,000 people are going to get this bag. I'm excited. I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic that it's just as good of a response as from everyone else we've gotten.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm sure it will be. Now, does the volume of the bag cause issues with the shipping and getting orders in? Or is it just built into the price?
Yeah, it's built into the price. And at some point we might charge a little bit for shipping. Like it's not popular to charge for shipping, but I've noticed it. And I've talked to a few founders of different companies where it's like, if the product is premium enough, and if it's a big enough cost that they will throw at least, even $10 on there for shipping. So it doesn't feel terrible, but it's
psychological,
helps.
Man. Like I do these consulting finance deals. And if you want 0% interest, that money doesn't come from nowhere, I forgot who I was listening to. It was a startup podcast and they were talking about, hey, maybe it was Rogue Fitness actually. I can't remember. It was like a big company and they talk about the psychology of paying for shipping. Where, I'm going to charge you $200 and the shipping's going to be built in there, or I'm going to charge you $190 and you're going to pay $10 shipping. So dealer's choice, honestly. Like,
yeah,
it's going to be built in one way or the other. It just depends what kind of like price tolerance you have. Because some people will click off. Like, I don't know if you can see the metrics. I had some stupid Shopify store, and I could see when they have a cart and then they don't, like, it doesn't convert. And sometimes it was because shipping. I was like, okay, well, let me just up the price of the t-shirt and you're going to get free shipping.
Yeah. I don't know. So we'll see what we do there. It's definitely a pain in the ass to ship, though. I mean, like, because of the structure and whatnot, like most products flat pack, and so you can stack 20 in a box, whereas like ours ships in a 2 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot box. It's obnoxious. We can only fit so many in a container from the factory on a ship, and then when it gets here, it's an oversized box. And so then our shipping costs initially were just god awful. But we moved to a different warehouse, and now we have some decent ones, but it still costs us like $20 or so to ship a bag. So we will probably do, people hearing this, sorry. We will probably do like paid returns, which isn't popular, but it's like, look, we'll cover it one way, but if you want to send it back, we'll lose our ass if we cover it both ways.
I mean, some companies just do that.
Yeah.
I
don't want to. If I could get around it, I would, but I don't know. I
mean, for different reasons, but I just bought a new camera from Best Buy and it was 15% restocking fee. Like it's not uncommon. And I totally get that too, because people are trying to rent a camera like that, but it's not completely foreign to have something like that. And one good thing, like, it is a big box. I'd imagine that if it got like for people for a gift, opening something that big, pulling it out, it's a substantial bag. So it's nice to open that big box and get that bag out.
Yeah. Yeah. We had one person who, like, for the majority of like 90% of people, like, don't email us. I think it like understood that it's a pre-sale, there's delays, and I send it every now and then. They're like, yeah, cool. I'll eventually get it, hopefully. And it's like, no, I swear we're going to deliver. And then there's like 5% that are real positive, and then maybe 5% that are just complete assholes, no matter what I say to them. And one person gave me hope in humanity the other day, because it was this person said they bought it for their son, and based on that and like the name and the interaction of like being on the internet, I was like, I'm pretty sure you're a little bit of an older human, like, maybe like 50s or something, 60s. You bought this for your son who's a firefighter. I'm like, okay, yeah. And it's like, I've had some customers who've been in that world, trying to like dance around the subject and not be like an ageist, where it's like, oh, like, I didn't realize this, like, I missed it, like, oh, I'm frustrated, like, you need to do your job better, and like some kind of just like talking down. And this person was like, oh, I'm getting it from a son, he's a fireman. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. We have lots of fire people who love this bag. Like, I'm giving one to a charity in Connecticut in January. And I was like, I just want to make sure you know that, like, it's not going to be delivered until like because you just ordered now, like the large bags that you order now aren't going to be delivered until like May. I'm like, are you okay with that? And if not, like, let me know. Happy to refund you. It's not a big deal at all. Like, maybe you missed it. Maybe we weren't clear enough about it, whatever. And she emailed me back and she was like, nope, not a problem at all. I wrapped a picture of it. Smiley face. I was just like, yes, I love you. Like, I was kind of expecting this to go in the opposite direction. And you're just like, yeah, it's not a big deal. Like, I just wrapped a picture of it.
I mean, like, Whoop's having the same kind of issues, right?
Oh, yeah. People are not happy with them.
Yeah. Well, I got a Whoop for someone else, the 4.0, 2 months ago or whatever. And
yeah, it's
still not going to be there to her for like 4 more weeks.
Yep.
And they're a much bigger profile company that's having to deal with that stuff. Now, I have 2 4.0s, so I haven't had to deal with that.
It's like the goody two shoes, but it's like Whoop.
I can only sympathize with you guys. I'm sorry. Like, but yeah. I've been using mine for a while, but I earned it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So what's next for Haven?
What's next? We're working on our future products. And so it's, I think I told you about this, but we're working on a backpack version.
Yes, I can't wait.
Yeah. Super excited. We just got the third round of designs back. And actually, I'll probably send these to you or maybe set up another call to like walk through them because these are like getting close to like a couple of tweaks and then we'll send it out to make a sample. But super excited about that. Few other things around that we're working with. We're also raising a round of financing right now. Kind of figuring out how to best do that. Kind of a mixture of maybe like some venture capital and then some loans and a few other things. Just being a product company, we're really capital intensive. And it's frustrating, especially being small, where it's like banks won't touch us because we don't have a history and we don't have assets. And so kind of figuring out some other ways to go around that.
And you're made to order right now, right? Like you're not keeping inventory. You just can't keep inventory. People are buying it.
Right. With this pre-sale that comes in, we'll have a few, I want to say we'll have like 100 or so smalls that will still be available. And those will be like, good luck. You're like, they're here. They'll last for like a week.
When can they order those?
So any smalls that are being ordered right now will be in this delivery that's coming end of January.
But when can people actually go on your website and claim one of those?
So like right now, if you place the order, you'll get it. But then once they're in, if we don't sell them out during January while they're on a boat, it would be end of January, early February, we would actually have some smalls in stock where if you purchase it, it would ship like normal.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll keep people up to date on what's happening there. If there's still a few left.
Oh, I'm going to tell people.
Maybe we'll make it. Yeah. Maybe we'll make it a thing too, where it's like, all right, it's February 1. We have 113 small bags available to ship.
Can you do like a Nike sneaker raffle, like the way they do? Got 'em or whatever. I don't know, like if there's enough interest. I wouldn't know how else to make it fair, unless people it's just first come, first serve too.
Yeah, it could be first come, first serve. We'll see kind of what's happening. I've been thinking about it actually this last week of like, we should probably do something for this. So,
but your other products, like your hat, like if I want a hat and a shirt, I can just buy those anytime, right?
Those are shipping with the pre-sale. So February.
Okay.
We didn't like stock those and whatnot. So, that's actually something on my list to do here in the next week is basically get a bunch of those ordered and shipped to our warehouse so that they can ship out. But looking to scale up for 2022. So we'll add a few products here early on. We'll bring in some funding. We'll place another big PO that will come in April-ish, and that will allow us to kind of get off of the pre-sale. And so then leading up to that, we'll just be like refining the website, refining a bunch of marketing stuff, customer acquisition, growth things, filming a bunch of new ads and content and whatnot for all of that. Start doing some writing. As far as like content, the initial things we need to do are just baseline like SEO. Like if you search for a gym bag, like some of our stuff should come up on how the best gym bag ever, or like organized gym bag. Or one guy responded to one of those emails and he's like, I found you because I Googled gym bag with cardboard dividers.
Really? I need to change my YouTube tags.
Yeah.
I mean, a percentage, because YouTube's owned by Google, a percentage of the views on the Haven bag do come from people searching best. I don't know how I come up, but best gym duffel is one, and best gym bag is another 2021 that refers to a couple of my videos with your bag.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we'll do some content basically around that stuff so people can find us better. Probably repurpose some content too. So like you and Fit Gear Hunter and anyone else who's made some videos. And I'm sure with this incoming batch, we'll get some good like user generated content. So we'll use some of that stuff as well. And I don't know, kind of just like a way I was talking to an investor about it the other day. He was like, yeah, it's kind of like just like getting your house in order. Like you're a small company, and if you can get some funding, then you can kind of just like organize things and start to streamline a little bit to prepare for those larger orders that are going to come in. And if you're not organized and streamlined, and then all of a sudden you sell 5,000 units, like, you will be in a lot of pain. And so that's kind of what we're hoping to do over the next few months here.
And never stop revisiting these processes too, because I see that happen to a lot of companies that their initial startups, the last time they created these like operating procedures and everything, and then they just let time slip by, and day after day they don't revisit them, and they just don't work anymore, and then you're just in a hot mess. Like, you should always have that startup mentality.
Always. Yeah. And that's, I don't know, that's the way that we think about building a company. It's just very intentional. It's the companies that I've worked at in the past, the software companies in the tech startup space, I've been lucky to work for, a couple of not so good ones, but a couple of really great ones.
Been there.
Who've built and sold and, have a lot to show for their work. And they're kind of involved in advising or helping, or at least at a minimum, friendly to what I'm doing. And I really, I don't know, I took to heart the way those good leaders and bosses built their companies. And those are things that I really care about, because you see it affect, if we have to have a lot of people at some point, like, you see it, how it affects all the employees. And it's like, it would be a dream to create a company where we could provide a job to someone. Kind of like getting, if I can create a YouTube and get one product for free, that's cool. If I create a company and I can provide a job to one person, like, besides myself, like, that's awesome. And if it ends up being way more, that's even awesomer.
You got it.
Thank you.
That's how I've gotten too. The same, like, I could get to the point where I employ someone to help me out with my content. And that would be the ultimate reward, I think, is to put food on someone else's table.
So cool. Yeah. And it's a big responsibility of building an intentional culture and making it a good job. Like, it's really easy. And same with like the processes. If you don't pay attention to them, and then all of a sudden, like, a year or two later, they're actually like really clunky and outdated, and you're not doing a great job of customer service or whatever it is. I think it's the same thing with like employees. If you're not paying attention, if you're not actively working on having a good culture and making their lives awesome, like, especially now, with like the great resignation or whatever you want to call it, like, people have options. That's the thing, especially in a remote world. And at a minimum, like, they're willing to quit a stable salary job because, like, they would rather work for Uber or DoorDash than deal with a shitty manager in a terrible environment.
I did. I took a price cut multiple times, like leaving a law firm to go work in a corporate environment, and then going from aerospace, which is a very antiquated industry overall, and going back to work in tech, which tech, for whatever reason, tends to be the best places to work. And my company is one of the top in the country places to work, and my overall work balance and just mental health and physical health improves. And the difference being working in aerospace for a publicly traded company was it was profit first, and everything was profit driven, regardless of who the people were, and not even caring about the people. And then moving to a company in the tech world where it's people first, and then indirectly, when you invest in your people, they want to invest back into the company, and then you're getting better production, which you wouldn't think is possible putting the people first. If you're kind of looking at, if we're profit driven, we're all looking at the top or bottom line. And it's just way better. So for you coming from like a tech background into like the fitness world is awesome for you to adapt that mentality and what you've seen works into, whatever mammoth haven eventually becomes.
Yeah, ideally. I mean, if Noble can get to $1 billion valuation in 5 years, maybe we can do something.
Don't even get me started on Noble, man. All my Noble stuff is just thrown in the closet. I don't even touch that stuff. Yeah, not a fan at all anymore of what they do, and I don't think they're ever going to recover from it. I theorize like that's one thing I hope that you're mindful of too. Of course, not telling you what to do, but from what I've seen, just from an outsider's perspective, is that Noble wanted to grow fast, and I think they sacrificed quality control and the customer service mainly. I think like they're notorious for just being god awful at responses.
Yeah.
I just think they're really ingrained into the CrossFit culture, and I keep myself out of that cult kind of thought process. And I just, if I take a step back and look at them as a company, I'm just not a fan.
Yeah, it's tough. I like some of the things that they've done, but then hearing some of the negative reviews of products and whatnot, and I think it kind of goes back to like what we've been talking about, where it's like being a younger company, being a startup, being really intentional, and it puts you in a different spot where you kind of have to be like, we can't have bad customer service because that has a massive effect on our bottom line.
That's
right
the
now.
number one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas like a couple of former Reebok execs, which if you're an exec at a big company, you had a great salary, you probably have a lot of money in your bank or whatever saved up. And you also have the platform to just go to pretty much any VC in that space and be like, look, I'm gonna spin off a thing, and I'm doing it with these other Reebok execs, and we know what we're doing, and so you're gonna get funded, and so now you have a ton of capital coming in, and basically like you have the privilege to not care about some of those things because you're so focused on like, oh well, we're sponsoring the CrossFit Games, and we've got all these high tier athletes that we're paying to be a part of our brand, and maybe some of the product is great and some of the product is actually shit, but like we don't have to care that some of it's shit.
Yeah. And if you really break down the product, I swear if I take my Noble shoes that I bought years ago and compare them to what they're selling now, they're different caliber shoes. And I told people before, actually, I saw one guy at my gym with their lifters, which were $300. And I said, man, you better be careful with those because they have awful customer service. They won't honor any return requests. And he goes, I've had these for a couple months. I like them. And I shit you not, 1 week later, he sends me a picture and the bottom fell off.
No way.
$300 ones, man. He wears Romaleo 4s now, but the $300, it's a beautiful, it's leather. It's got a wood bottom.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a good looking shoe. It's just very surface level the way it looks versus how it actually functions. And that's, to me, how Noble has turned into. And it's just... not to turn this into a shit on Noble session, but
yeah,
I'm just super disappointed because they were like a favorite brand of mine, and I love startups, and they were new, but then they've tried to become this Goliath super quick, and it just turned them into something that I don't like. So hopefully that doesn't happen with
frustrating.
you. So
no, I don't think it will.
so the way I like to wrap these up is I'm a tech channel. I want to know. I want to know about the products you're using, whether they're supplement brands, fitness trackers, or just anything that you have that you absolutely love that you think other people would really enjoy, besides your bag.
Yeah. Step one, go buy our bag, havenathletics.com.
You should definitely do that anyway, but yeah.
Yeah. Outside of that, I love BPN supplements right now. I follow
Austin,
Nick Bear,
Texas.
and I think he's doing, Austin, Texas. He's doing dope stuff. Also, Adam Klink is their partnership director, and he manages all their
Did you send them a bag? I saw something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he loves it, and he like travels with it. Like when they were flying somewhere or driving somewhere, I don't know. He was in an airport, and I like screenshotted it, and I sent it to him like, "Bro, are you traveling with my bag?" It's like, "Yeah, man, I love it." I was like, "That's awesome! Like, super cool to see."
Mm-hmm.
So those guys are good, and I like what they have a great team, great customer service, and a great product. And if you watch Nick Bear's stories, like he talks about the product a lot. He talks about how they're moving it forward, how they're constantly improving, how they're like working to pull all the colors out of it, because they're like, look, we don't need to eat colors. Colors are bad for us. So like we're gonna work towards moving towards a colorless product. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't bother you that it's not electric green.
Right.
Like, great. That's awesome. Like, that's a positive for the community. So I've been,
I love
drinking their protein and their greens and their focus.
I love transparency with companies, which is why I want to have like this podcast with people like you on it. I want to give audiences a peek behind the curtain and just know, there's supply chain issues or whatever, and they're normal for business, but here's a real person who's really passionate about what they're doing. And you can just tell this whole time talking to you that you're doing everything you can to make an absolutely perfect product and to get in a customer's hands versus someone just sitting there thinking, oh, this guy doesn't care about his customers and he's just, making a profit and going the cheapest route possible, which is absolutely not the case.
not the case. Yeah. Um, Man. Oh, one of the other products I use from them. So I think it's called In Focus or something, but it's like for focusing on work, but can also be used as like a pre-workout that's maybe a little bit less like stim based. So there's still some caffeine in it, but it's got all the other stuff that's like more like neurological focus. And I've been taking it before the gym, and it is stellar. Like
Really?
rather than just like a 300 milligram caffeine pump, it's so much more like I feel dialed in and I'm focused on what I'm doing. I'm following the plan and whatnot. And
So it's got a little stimulant.
lifts are clean and yeah, a little stimulant, but not a ton.
Yeah, I know
So I've been
people.
enjoying that.
Yeah, people in CrossFit. I'm very caffeine adapted. Like I could drink a cup of coffee and go to bed. So I take the hard shit. Like
Yeah.
I love. Like my body temperature elevates a little bit, but overall, like I'm pretty good to go. So that's a good option for people that just they don't want like the cordyceps one where like it's non-stimulant and they just want something in between.
Yeah. I'm pretty caffeine adapted, but sometimes if I take a big scoop before a Metcon, like mid Metcon, I'll just redline and I'll be like, what's happening? I'm like, oh, I think it's the 200 milligrams of caffeine
Hell yeah.
coursing through my blood.
Well, you're in Seattle.
And
You have to be caffeine adapted. You're in the coffee capital.
Yeah. Products outside of that. Man, what am I using right now?
Your shoes are like the Metcon
I
5 or
think
6. Do you use a fitness tracker? You said
Yeah.
you're using the Whoop, but do you use anything now?
No, I'll use like a cheap Garmin for some like hikes and stuff. It's fine. I'll probably get back on Whoop at some point. I have a small mental barrier on it where when it tells you whether you should work hard or kind of pull back based on like your rest and stuff. And I'm not a huge fan of like, there's a balance for like feeling intuitive, right? Like some days if you feel like shit, you still need to go to the gym and kick your ass. And like I've had some of my best workout days where I'm like, I feel like tired, like I think I should just take a nap. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go to the gym. And then I have a stellar lift and I feel amazing afterwards. But then there's some days too where you need to like, balance it. And I would look at the Whoop and it'd be like, oh, you didn't like sleep as good. And like, for some reason, like you're down. So like, don't work too hard. And I'm like, I feel great. Like I want to work hard. Like, but it would kind of like play with my mind, like back and forth or like, hey, you're at 100% rest. You should go ham today. And I'd be like, I feel like garbage. Like I am sore. I'm probably going to take ibuprofen. I never, and I would struggle with this. Like, I don't like what you're telling me.
So I did a video on that where I take because there is a lot of studies on your data versus your intuition of like how you feel. Yes. And pretty much what I had established for myself and the way I use Whoop is that if my Whoop is red, that tends to be lower or like a pure rest day. If like if I feel red, same thing. Yellow, yellow, go. Green, yellow. Green, green, go balls to the wall. Like, so that is how I use it based on, because you need a balance of both, but red for either end is usually like a pullback day.
All right. I like that.
Because
maybe that's the push I needed.
Well, you definitely need, like, it tells you too, even on red days, if you have a high strain day, because I've had 17 strain days on a red day, that's when you're making gains, but I wake up the next day, I'm still red. Like, just how it works. But it doesn't, you don't have to go back. It's another data set for your body.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Outside of that, my stack, Victory grips, Romelios for lifting, RX jump rope.
Favorite clothes, 10,000 shorts,
10,000 shorts. Yep. Random shirts, Stance socks.
Yep. Love them.
Love them. They had a sale. Actually, honestly, I think this website like screwed up the pricing for a 3-pack of their athletic based ones where they're like tighter around the middle and have extra padding. Like a year or two ago, and I don't know, there was like $10 off a 3-pack, and I think I bought like 6 3-packs. I don't know. I was like, I don't want to ever think about socks. And so I don't. Like, it's like I have right, left, and I've got like 20 pairs of them, and
oh,
great.
I've spent too much on it. To me, they have like, it's called the Feel 360, I think, is like their performance line.
Yes.
But regardless of whatever line it is, I use all of them. Like I wore my Green Bay Packers sock yesterday at the gym, and like I have Space Jam socks. Like every time they come out with a new line, I'm like, oh, here goes my money. And it's stupid socks.
Yep.
But now, like with the Go Rucks, I wear high top, and I love high top shoes at the gym personally. And the Stance socks look killer with the high tops.
Yes. Nice.
I'm actually going to do
a pair of high tops. I've been considering it, and the what is it? Go Ruck?
Yeah, the ballistic trainers.
I might. Yeah, after seeing some of your thoughts, and then as many reviews as possible, posted some good thoughts. I was like, I think I kind of want to try these.
Yeah, he posted a pretty good one. I'm actually also going to do a video. I'm going to do CrossFit in my Jordan 1s.
Yes.
They're better built than they're the better built and the same price as No Bulls.
Yeah. That's going to be a great video.
They're going to look
for that one.
Great because I love
look so cool.
I'm not a sneakerhead, but I love Jordan 1s. I really want the Chicago ones. I just don't want to pay that resale value.
Yeah. Yeah. Jordan 1s are great. Such a great silhouette.
Yeah.
Good colorways.
Love it. Simple.
Love it. Yeah. Outside of that, Seal Athletics, CIELE. It's a running brand. They make a hat that is the best hat I've ever used because it's meant for runners. So it's great for sweat, and it has a soft, latch, snap, whatever the thing is there.
How'd you spell it again?
That's like CIELE.
Okay.
There's a lot of hats out there that, like, I don't know, I'll put it on and I'll be like, this is just a hat. Like, how is this supposed to absorb my sweat? Or like, I'll put it on backwards and I'm like, cool, now I have a big piece of plastic in the middle of my forehead where all my sweat is. How is this functional?
Those are the hats I wear.
This is not a workout hat. Yeah. I mean, I like them. Like, it's still better than nothing sometimes, especially like your hair's like going all over. But I'm just like, I want like a sweatband.
Hoka One One has a pretty sick hat too.
Okay.
Though it's like white.
Check it out. I like Hoka.
It's a beautiful hat. It's only going to stay clean once, but it looks great. I see there's a running store connected to my gym and some of the workers wear it. And I'm like, God, I gotta, they don't sell it at the running store, but I'm a huge fan of Hoka. So I need to buy that hat.
Yep. Yeah. That's awesome. Other than that, some random like wrist straps, sweatbands, nubs, those little like neoprene thumb wraps. I haven't been using those as much recently though.
I never wrap my thumbs.
Really?
I watched what's his name? Roided out. I shouldn't say that, but
Roided out Tim Allen?
Liver King? Oh yeah, Liver King, man. Oh, I want to do some parody videos. I'm gonna be like, I want to do a reel.
Please do.
And be like, oh, I just had 12 testicles and just definitely have never put a syringe in my ass. I'm like, this guy's ridiculous.
Oh, that would be great. Let me know. I would love to help. I'll send my friends videos and be like, good morning, primals.
Is it Klitz? Not Vladimir Klitz. I can't think of the guy's name. He's an old weightlifter, and I watched him snatch 405. No thumb wraps or anything. And I was just like, well, if he don't need them. So now, like, I don't use any grips for muscle ups or anything anymore either.
Really? How'd you switch on that?
I hated my Bear Complex ones. And I just threw them off one workout, and ever since then, I just haven't put them back on. And my hands, knock on wood, have not ripped. And I think they just, I'm finally into my like full gorilla monkey paws where it's just not happening. And I love like the grip with just chalk, being able to like just grab on. So, you know, I don't just buy, so like people listening, I just don't buy and use gear for the hell of it. Like if I don't find it essential to my own needs, then I can't review it because it makes it tough. Like people want me to use review the Aura Ring really bad, and you can't use. I don't know how Tia Claire Toomey is sponsored by them because you cannot use it with a barbell or a dumbbell.
Oh,
yeah. You have to take it off.
Weird.
It's very weird. It actually tells you to take it off, to not use it because it'll damage the ring and it'll pinch against your finger, and to use something like an Apple Watch to take your fitness. So it's like, you want me to buy this $300 ring with a $5 a month subscription and then go buy a $400 Apple Watch to take my stats when I need it for fitness. Yeah.
Does make sense.
And it's backed by some great guys like Peter Attia, and I would love to use it. He's an endurance athlete, so it makes sense for him. But, you know, I would love to review it. It just doesn't fit within my or a lot of people's health, like, workout regimen.
Yeah, I like that. Using products that or testing products that like you'll use, because then you'll be more passionate about it. You'll actually like care, as opposed to like having to just do it to like go through the motions. Like, okay, yeah, I reviewed it, but like in the end, like I'm not going to use it, so I don't really care about it. So like,
I also take a lot longer time with a product than I see, because I see some reviews out there that I'm like, I completely disagree with you. You actually just named a guy that comes to mind. I have a lot of problems. I have a lot of problems with a lot of his reviews. But that's just me knowing how I do reviews and then getting a different interpretation, and my research just doesn't match, because content creators just want to get shit out the door a lot of times. And I think that's never what I wanted to do either. I think there comes a little more integrity, like, not saying that he doesn't have it, but I have problems.
Yeah. Yeah. That's understandable. I feel like there's a lot of people out there that are kind of pumping stuff out.
Yeah, even though I'm going to try to pump out some content once per day when I'm off, but I have a lot of...
That's different. You've got the time to do it.
I have a lot of thought that I want to put into some of this stuff too. But I think that wraps it up, Caleb. Man, I appreciate your time. We did a couple hours. I don't know, hopefully that flew by.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. I was like, holy shit, it's been 2 hours.
We talk about like the meditation being present. Like, I don't know if you know the comedian Theo Vaughn, but he had discussed that his love for podcasts is that you have a genuine conversation with someone where you literally put your phone away and see eye to eye. And even though I'm off to the side, but like figuratively, and just have a genuine conversation where you're listening to one another, and just, you know, it's just great. So hopefully I can get you down to Austin, or I head up to Seattle and come up there. And either way, I'm sure we'll meet in the future, and I look forward to seeing where Haven goes.
Definitely.
Do you want to say your social media and where to find Haven?
havenathletic.com, Haven Athletic on most social media. I'm Caleb Ulffers, Caleb Ulf, ULF on most social media, if for some reason you want to find me.
Beautiful. All right. Well, that wraps it up. Appreciate your time, man.
Cool. Good stuff, Wes. Thanks so much.
Yeah.